Fresh Prince is like, Uncle Phil, you remember when, and then they skip back to some older episode in a clip that's funny. Like when they made Hillary lie. That was a good one. Anyway, this is serious. I've been recording this whole time. This video is all of the stuff that you need to do a full reglue or sole swap. I have a link to an Amazon store where I curated a bunch of this stuff, so you can go check that out and pick and choose whatever you want. I'm just gonna go over some of it here. So anyway, I'm just gonna use my phone and point to stuff and talk about it. Is that cool? All right, homie. The only problem is the audio. There, what do you think of that angle? First of all, 5mm nitrile gloves. Safety is a thing, but also you don't want to be putting your hands in used sneakers. I don't. I need to wrap it up, if you know what I'm saying. Do not use those for acetone though. It will just rip right through them. When I'm using acetone, I just do it barehanded. It's not that big a deal. You know, I do acetone raw. Hook tool. This is one hook tool. This is my favorite hook tool. You don't just buy one, you buy a set, and they're very cheap. But these things are so handy. I don't know how often I use this, but not just for pulling the threads out of cup soles, but also for cleaning off the bottoms of the shoes when you really got to get in there. These things are great. X-Acto knife and blades. Now, you always want to switch out a new blade whenever you are slicing off glue. Erasable pen. It's the only one that I love. Frixion erasable. It comes in a pack of 3 and it's 3 different colors. And I definitely recommend that because it depends on the color of the shoe. What color is actually going to show up. Essential when you need to mark off the top of any outsole in order to show you where your glue line is for when you're using your rotary tool. Nylon brush. I only have one here, but I linked to the Rejuvenator set of 3. That is the best thing that Rejuvenator has, basically, is the brushes. Don't bother with their soaps. All you need is Castile soap. I prove it here in this video on the top right. Cotton rounds. I prefer cotton rounds over cotton balls because it seems to be more surface area. It seems to be sturdier than cotton balls. It doesn't break apart like they do. Sometimes the cotton balls will break apart and you have all these tiny little pieces of cotton all over the shoe that you have to clean off now. And also these hold a lot of acetone. I mean, I actually have to put acetone on the front and then I flip around and put some in the back and it absorbs all of it. These things are quality. I don't use cotton balls anymore because of them. Oh wait, no, acetone. All right, acetone. Acetone has to be 100% acetone. It cannot be nail polish remover. It's not gonna work. Gotta be 100%. Squeeze bottle. I use squeeze bottle for any solvent. This is where my acetone is in and I have it marked out. This is where my glue is in. I have that one marked out. Storage is a little bit easier, but also everything is cleaner and neater, and cleaner and neater means safer. You're not spilling anything because you're taking it out with this huge brush that's in there or whatever. And here's a little tip. In order to keep the air out, I just use a little pin. This is a little pin from sewing. I just put a little pin in there. Covers up the whole hole, provides a decent seal so that it doesn't dry up in here. Safety glasses, an absolute must, especially when you are using the rotary tool. Don't skimp out on stuff like this. Respirator, also a must in my opinion. You're gonna be using solvents, especially the adhesion promoter, which I'm pointing to right here. Even if you're outside, the spray can go towards you, so I highly recommend using a respirator. I use this when I'm using the adhesion promoter, and also I use it when I am using the rotary tool just to protect my lungs because it is all these tiny little particles that are coming off. And then I keep referencing the rotary tool. This is an old rotary tool. I think that this is discontinued now from Harbor Freight, but I linked to one that had some really good reviews and it's not expensive on the Amazon store. It's got like 6,000 reviews and 3,000 purchases in the last month, so I think it's probably pretty good. And then there is the drum sander. It's coarse. It doesn't specify what grit it is, but whatever it is, it's fine for what we need. 3-inch masking tape. There's the masking tape right there. This is what I use to tape off the upper before I apply the adhesion promoter and glue. Adhesion promoter. There's a few different brands. A Bulldog or something like that is the one that I see most people use, but that one's expensive. Rust-Oleum is cheaper and it's the same thing. So I just go with whatever's cheaper. If you happen to have an O'Reilly's in your town, O'Reilly's actually has one that's like a little cheaper. I'm less than $1 or something. Basically the same stuff. So that one's good too, but I have a link to this one in that shop. Barge Infinity. I've been messing around with all kinds of different glues, deciding which one I liked best. I think it's definitely the Barge Infinity cement. The reason why I go with Infinity over Super Stick is because this is toluene free, so there's no VOC, so it doesn't have like this really strong smell and give you a terrible headache. That's why I love this. I store it like this, but the part that I need I pour into my squeeze bottle. Glue applicator. I couldn't find one in the shop this shape. I kind of like this shape for cup soles. These silicone glue applicators are awesome because you just peel the glue off. They're not messy. They help keep everything clean and they applicate the glue very well. Definitely recommend a silicone glue applicator. Heat gun. Now, the reason why I like a heat gun over just a blow dryer, you don't need a ton of heat to reactivate the barge. The thing is I like to have a controlled setting so that it's always the same every time I do it. So the controlled setting, I can be a lot more accurate because this has a dial in the back that I can actually adjust the temperatures. Infrared thermometer. Now, this is not the infrared thermometer that I have linked. I don't even know if they make this one anymore. And also, I got this from an old job and I may or may not have stolen it. But you remember that snitches get stitches, right? In order to have that controlled setting, in order to reach your perfect temperature for your glue, I believe that this is essential, especially for the first few. Once you start getting the hang of it, maybe not. You certainly don't want to make your glue too hot or not hot enough. But typically most of us will make it too hot and it'll start doing what's called webbing. And webbing is bad. We don't want webbing because then they won't stick together and it's a mess. Okay, so this really helps. Bone folder. Bone folder here is great for helping apply pressure on the side of the outsole when you're bonding, but also it helps separate when it's a little bit tough to separate. It has this point here, but it's also smooth. So it just kind of like breaks the glue apart when you're going in between the outsole and the upper without causing any damage. So this is great. Glue eraser. These things are amazing. Once you're done gluing, typically you're gonna find glue on the outsole, on the upper, whatever. You just rub this on the glue and it'll roll it off without making any damage to anything else. Also, if you ever buy like a dunk and it has glue stains on it, instead of going on Reddit and complaining about the glue stains, you can just use this to remove them. Stitching awl. You don't have to jump right into my handy dandy $300 hand crank sewing machine. Stitching awl will do the job. This is basically the standard one here, and I have a link to this exact one in that store. The stitching awl comes with, my finger's in the way, I'm doing the dad thing, okay. The stitching awl comes with waxed white thread. If you want a different color, you're just gonna have to order it. The factories, like Nike, they don't use wax thread because they're not hand stitching. They use bonded nylon. That's what that thread is right there. This is just for picture's sake, okay? This is size 207. It's actually not the size that they use for the out stitch, but you can absolutely use this for the back stitch. It actually makes it easier for the back stitch if it's a little bit thinner than the front stitch. I have a link in the description for the right size, which is 277. That's the collection of colors that I have that are closest to me when I'm sewing. They're all bonded nylon, UV resistant, very strong, weather resistant. Definitely what they use to stitch your outsoles together. And then contact cement. I always have like a little tiny bottle of this contact cement. This is literally just to glue the thread ends that are inside of the shoe. You want like 6 inches or so laying down in there. That way in the future, you know where the ends are and it's gonna go right under the outsole. To make it nice and clean, I use the contact cement and brush it on. It's not necessary, okay? But this is what the factory does, so this is what I like to do too. Boy, I'm really screwing that angle up, aren't I? Where were you? I don't even know where you were. Were you here? Was I here? Yeah, sure, whatever. Link in the description below for that Amazon store I was talking about. They just let me curate a bunch of stuff, so I picked out all this stuff and good prices. I tried not to find anything that was like stupid expensive for no reason. If you're gonna purchase any of this stuff, it would really help the channel if you would do it through that store so I can get cash money for my drug habit.